Welcome, dear listeners of History Time channel, to our podcast about British imperialism in India. Today, we are going to discuss and analyze how actually the famous East India Company affected the political and economical situations in India. Also, we are going to explore and merge into a thrilling story and try to tell our audience, it means you, interesting moments that they might have not known. Can you guess which city's development under the control of the East Indian Company are we going to talk about right now?
I'm not sure. There were a few key cities that British imperialism had quite the impact on. For example, Calcutta or the Malwa region.
I think it's going to be Bombay, the current Mumbai, since it's one of the most popular cities today.
Yes, you are right. We are going to dive into British imperialism in Bombay. And today, dear listeners of this podcast, our two guests are George Clifford, one of the founders of the AIC, and Jamsetji Gigi Boy, one of the richest Indian men during British imperialism. Okay, now we know each other. Let's start. I am pretty sure that the East India Company was the initial reason for imperialism in Bombay. But could you guys tell us more about that?
Of course, as Raghavan states, in 1534, the Gujarat ruler was the owner of the Bombay. But later, he gave Bombay to the Portuguese due to the fact that they wanted it. However, in 1668, in the name of the Portuguese-British political union by a marriage settlement, Bombay was given to the British Crown, and later to the East India Company. The East India Company was a British company that was established to exploit trade with Southeast Asia and India.
I'm not sure. There were a few key cities that British imperialism had quite the impact on. For example, Calcutta or the Malwa region. Bombay was actually not a very favorable or advantageous place for the British to move to from Surat. So Kalangutkar even explains that Nightingale described these 7 archipelago small islets as the most unhealthiest, poorest, and most unfavorable settlements of the British in the 18th century.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Bombay was initially a very developed city, and because of that, it's now an extremely big city.
Oh no! Bombay was even cut off from the trading route in India, but the decline of the Mughal Empire happened in the 18th century, which previously was the dominant force in India that was restricting the actions of the EIC. In this time period, the EIC was able to take up the opportunity to establish domestic and international trade by restoring communication with the mainland and strengthening European connections.
Oh, that's very unexpected. But did the AIC take any significant actions to develop this city?
It's hard to say. I would actually argue that the EIC had quite the negative impact on Bombay. The EIC had accumulated debts over the years. The main reasons were territorial deficits and deficits in profit from trade with India that had been unsettled. One way to pay off these debts was to enforce taxes on Indian locals. As Marco explains, the EIC taxes were based on agricultural income, as the Mughals did before them. However, compared to these Mughals, the EIC taxes were very high, and Marco says, quote, the land tax levied by the EIC was excessive and paid by poor peasants, which caused huge inequality, extreme poverty, and agricultural stagnation.
Oh, I see. But I think that the East Indian Company's control did have some sense of positive effect on the economical situations of Bombay, no? For example, as Kalangutker explains, there was an opportunity for Bombay in opium trade to become a commercial center. The British side was interested in trading with China for their tea. However, due to China's rejection for almost any British goods, the European force decided to smuggle opium in turn for the products that they wanted. To make more profit from the colonies that was not as efficient as the AIC wanted it to be, it was decided that opium would be grown and exported from India. Wouldn't Indian merchants have a bigger opportunity in this branch to accumulate wealth?
Yes, that is quite true. Overall, Indian merchants really benefited from the opium trade. But as Bhargav states, the EIC were not very pleased with this economic growth, and in addition, in an interview on NewsClicking, Manuel states that the British declared a monopoly over opium trade in India. Nevertheless, Indian traders smuggled opium into China and brought immense wealth to their city. Both Manuel and Bhargav also pointed that, ironically, Bombay's development as a city was mostly fueled by the profit from the opium trade. I established institutions and hospitals from the money I earned from the trade, and they were named after me, Jamsiji Jijibhoi.
Oh, it came to my mind that another big branch of trade that the EIC influenced on was cotton trade. Shah explains that the East India Company made profit from exporting cotton goods from India to Britain. However, later on they started to export only raw cotton into Britain and import already textiles made from this raw material back into India to sell to the locals. This destroyed the traditional Indian textile market, however, it gave the cotton trade a chance to improve. According to the data provided by Logan, in 1862, due to the American Civil War, Bombay contributions to importing cotton into Britain rise to 90% compared to the previous year's 31%. This gave Bombay merchants a big chance to gain profit from this trade. However, with the end of the Civil War, the British preferred to buy cotton from America again, which decreased the prices of stock.
I see. So we cannot say that there were only downfalls nor only development in the economic situations of Bombay from AIC rule. But what about the governance side? Were there any rebellions, reforms, and so on?
As far as I am aware, in the range of the 18th to 19th centuries, there weren't any significant events in terms of uprisings, specifically in Bombay.
Are you joking? I'm not a historian as you, but I still know about Sepoy Mutiny. It's the Indian Sepoys rebellion against British imperialism and dominance over India. What about it? Wasn't it a turning point in British imperialism?
But Bombay was not the key area of the Sepoy Mutiny. Therefore, we cannot truly say that the EIC caused an uprising or more awareness about nationalism in this timeline in Bombay specifically.
That's why you didn't tell me about the Sepoy Mutiny from the first time. But still, overall, the AIC did not have any particular impacts on nationalism in Bombay, but caused poverty due to taxes. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. Thus, we cannot fully say that British imperialism was totally a bad event. It had its downsides and its uprisings.
I agree with that. As historians say, there are no events that only have negative effects or positive ones.
Yes, I fully agree with your conclusion. And if we've all came up with final conclusion, it's time to end. It was a pleasure discussing this topic with you. Thank you.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you for listening.